One time, a group of my friends and I were camping in Kearney, Ontario, where we always go camping. Whenever we go, we always form our tents in a big circle, with the fire pit in the middle of us. We've been drinking, smoking, and a few of us were tripping on shrooms. The first night we were there, this guy randomly walks into our circle, introduces himself. I can't remember the name he gave, that he was in the military and decided to take some vacation to camp out a bit. He asked if he could join our fire, as it was getting late and he didn't buy any firewood. Being the friendly stone people we are, we let him join our fire. He even pitched in some money for the firewood. The night went on and we were all having a good time. One by one, our group started heading off to bed, me being either the second or third. I remember waking up to the sound of someone talking and a fire being started. It was 4 a.m. I peeped out my tent and saw the random person just sitting on a log by the fire, talking to himself. Still tripping on shrooms, I thought to myself, I am in no condition to deal with this, and chalked it up to me just tripping out. I wake up the next day and everyone is still alive, thankfully, and the fire is smoldering. We looked to the next campsite where the random was staying and it was spotless. No garbage, no tracks in the trail around the site, no nothing. We all started talking about him, just to be sure we all saw him. Through talking, we managed to figure out that he must not have slept at all. The last two of our group passed out just after 3:30 a.m. The first person got up just after 6 a.m. and noticed he was gone. The rest of the camping trip went well and we all went home. Fast forward maybe 4 to 5 years, I flip on the news and there is a picture of someone I could swear I recognize. He was arrested for a bunch of crimes, including rape and murder. Guess who it was? It was the random guy who joined our fire. I don't know why I remembered his face, but I guess it was just a weird situation where my brain just saved it. Now, I have no way of proving if it was the same guy. We didn't take any pictures of the random fire, but the picture jump-started my memory and made me instantly remember the weird random fire joiner. Either that or they looked identical to the same person. Either way, it was creepy. I remember a story that one of my Cub Scout leaders told us on a campout when I was probably 7. It took place during the pioneer times. A man and his wife traveled west in hopes of either striking it rich with gold or at worst finding a nice plot of land to settle down on and a farm, manifest destiny and whatnot. A few months into their journey, they came across just the spot, a beautiful plot of land to make their new home. Winter would be coming in a couple of months, so they built a hasty shack and figured they'll hunker down there for the winter, and build a more established house in a few months when the weather is more permitting. They don't worry, as the area is teeming with wildlife for hunting and trapping, so they figured they'll be set for food. A couple of months go by and winter is bitter cold and unrelenting. They finished off the last of their food stash and they haven't seen so much as a squirrel in weeks. They are both slowly starving and freezing to death as they huddle in their shack, day after day with no end in sight. The man's wife is delirious with hunger. Fearing that they will soon be dead, he decides to go for a hunt. He musters the energy to bundle up and heads out, determined to stay out as long as it takes to find them both some food. A couple of days pass as the man takes shelter under impromptu stick shelters, keeping warm with a campfire in the nighttime and hunting in the daytime. Nearly frozen to death, mercifully, the man spots a beautifully plump rabbit several yards away. He takes aim with his musket and it's a perfect shot. With a newfound energy, the man runs home, giddy to finally feast with his wife. What he doesn't know is that while he was gone, his wife had discovered some tasty flesh of her own, literally. The hunger had driven her insane, causing her to believe that her now frostbitten fingertips were lady finger cookies. She started off with a few nibbles here and there, slowly pulling the flesh away from her bones. After just a couple of hours, both hands were nothing but bone, so she worked her way up her arms to the elbow. The feeling of something in her stomach just continued to drive her further, until she had chewed away at every last bit of skin she could reach, culminating in her chewing off her own lips. The husband approached the shack with his now frozen kill when he got an uneasy feeling. Fearing the worst, he steps up to the door and slowly opens it, expecting to see his wife's corpse shriveled on the floor. But instead, what he finds is even worse. This zombie-like creature with exposed teeth and bones writhing on the floor at the side of him, chomping its jaws with an insatiable hunger. At this point, one of the scouts screeched for the leader to stop, which I was extremely thankful for, as it was easily the most terrifying thing I've ever heard at the age of 7. The scout leader told it with real conviction too. Honestly, still gives me the creeps. Why I'm no longer a park ranger. When I was a park ranger, I usually worked the day shift, but there had lately been a lot of night shift guys quitting. It was obviously inevitable that I would ask to do a night shift. I arrived at a watchtower at 5 p.m. The watchtower was next to one of the large pond/small lakes. I climbed up the stairs to the top and entered the tower room. There was one clear glass wall and 3 wooden opaque walls. Inside was a bed with a nightstand next to it on the right. There was also a kitchenette with 2 sets of cabinets on the left-hand side. Next to the glass wall on the far side of the room was a radio communication station. On the nightstand was a flashlight. Inside the nightstand were a pair of binoculars and long-range walkie-talkie. Inside the small cabinets was food. I couldn't open the big cabinet for some reason. There was most likely stuff in there that was above my pay grade. Around the watchtower room was a walkway. Anyways, I went to the communication station and radioed my partner Donnie, who was at the main ranger station. I said, "Well Donnie, it looks like it's just us tonight." He didn't reply though, so I assumed he was in the bathroom. So I took the binoculars and walkie-talkie and stepped onto the walkway. I scanned the far ridge, the roads, and the forest below. I was looking for illegal campsites, troublemakers, and other riffraff. As I passed my binoculars across the far ridge, I saw what looked like a snowman. I had a double take and thought, a snowman? In the middle of July? I looked again and saw that it wasn't a snowman, but a kid wearing a ghost costume, just staring at the watchtower. The costume was a sheep pulled over with 2 eye holes cut out, like the ghost costumes in Charlie Brown. So I radioed Donnie again and asked, "Hey Donnie, are you there?" Donnie responded, "Yeah, I just made it out." I got a chuckle out of that. Donnie was always good for a laugh. I then said, "Yeah, say, can you check the ridge? I saw a kid up there wearing a ghost costume. You know, a sheet with eye holes cut out." "You mean like the Charlie Brown Halloween?" he asked. "Yes." Donnie then left the ranger station and headed for the ridge. About 40 minutes later, the sun had set and it was a bit dark. I scanned the ridge again, but the kid in the ghost costume was gone. So I radioed Donnie again. "Are you there?" Donnie responded, "I'm almost at the ridge. What's up?" I said, "You might want to search the surrounding area. The kid has moved." "Sure thing." About 10 minutes later, I saw Donnie's flashlight shining on a ridge in the distance. I looked at my binoculars and saw Donnie shining a light around and Donnie shrugging. He then radioed me and said, "I don't see anyone here." Donnie's flashlight then went out and there was just static on the radio. I spoke into the radio. Donnie, are you there? What happened?" Just then, I heard a loud shriek coming from the base of the tower. I shone my flashlight down and saw, right between the tower and the pond, a pale, blue woman with empty eye sockets staring at me. All of her limbs looked broken and bent in the wrong way. Just then, she started sprinting up the stairs towards the top where I was. I had never seen anyone move that fast. She was running faster than Olympic runners. I freaked out, ran inside, grabbed the biggest kitchen knife I could find, locked the door, and hid next to it. There was no way she could run up the steps that fast, even if her limbs weren't broken. Then I heard the sound of one of the big cabinets opening. My blood ran cold. I slowly looked over at the cabinets to see one of the big ones wide open with the ghost from the ridge looking right at me. I froze in fear. That is, until I heard giggling. I recognized that giggle. I pulled off the sheets and saw it was one of Donnie's kids. He pulled out a walkie-talkie and said, "Hey Dad, we got him." I heard Donnie's voice come over the radio, laughing and said, "Good job." I grabbed the walkie-talkie and said, "Very funny, you jerk." Donnie replied, "Yeah, listening to you scream like a girl was the best bit." I responded, "Yeah, screw you too, Donnie. By the way, it wasn't me who screamed. It was the zombie chick at the stairs. Who was that? Your wife?" Donnie hesitated in responding and just stuttered out, My wife? Do ghosts look like zombies from that distance? You said it yourself. It looked like a Charlie Brown ghost." I then said, "Not the ghosts. There was a woman at the bottom of the tower. She shrieked and ran up the stairs faster than an Olympic runner." Donnie then said, Yeah, I didn't put a woman on the stairs."